Bom dia, guys. Good morning. I'm your trainer, Tommy Rivs. We are here in the city of Silves in southern Portugal. We have an easy 30-minute walkabout. We're just going to go in, we're going to explore the city, see some incredible history, some iconic artwork. Just 30 minutes, nice and easy, guys. Let's do it. All right. So we are crossing right now what is known as the Roman Bridge. So a Ponte Romana. This is an iconic bridge covering this river, crossing this river into the ancient city of Silves here in southern Portugal. So just a little bit of context. I'm going to back way out real quick and explain just where we are. This is the river Arade, A-R-A-D-E. This was a really important river historically because it created access to the sea for boats to be able to come up into this city. If we back way out, if we look at this from outer space, we are on the Iberian Peninsula. So the Iberian Peninsula is the small peninsula in southwestern Europe where Spain and Portugal and the Basque country are located. So these are countries in southwestern Europe that are known collectively as Iberia or the Iberian Peninsula. So we are in southwest Portugal in the Algarve region, A-L-G-A-R-V-E. This is southern Portugal. This is an area which was home to so many important things that have taken place throughout history. So we're gonna walk through this city. What's incredible about this is that we're able to see a combination of so many different empires, different civilizations that lived here and left their mark on this place. This place spans back to early records, the earliest records of human civilization. Back before the Stone Age, we had Neolithic periods where people inhabited this exact same region because of the resources that were available, because of the climate, the access to the sea and the rivers. Over time, different civilizations came in. We had Celts from Europe. We had the Visigoths, which were a specific type of Gothic tribe that came in from Germany. We had the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire settled in this area, took over much of what we see. We had, after that time, after the Romans, there were the Moors, so the Muslim empire that came in. Then we have the different conquistas and reconquistas, so the different Christian empires that came in and fought literally for hundreds of years over this exact area. Right now we're working along that river, that important river that brought trade in from the sea, which made this city an important hub. Right here, right next to us, we have these ancient olive trees. You can tell how old they are based off of the base. So you look down there and you see that every year these are trimmed back and then the new crop comes out. These right here, these purple olives, these are ripe olives. So if we were to open this up, whoop, this is incredibly bitter, guys. So it's important for olive cultivation and production. What you do is you take these olives when they're ripe and then they're cured, they're fermented, and then salt is added to them, and that's what gives them a briny, salty, somewhat acidic taste. Guys, we're gonna flip over here. As we turn, I want you to take a look at the mosaic, the artwork here that's on this wall. Obviously, this is not an ancient wall. This is new, put in place, but it represents an important historical and artistic component of the era. So these small stones, rather, these small tiles are called azulejos. Azulejo is a Portuguese adoption of the original Arabic term for these tiles. So within the Moorish empire that settled in this area, within those deep Islamic traditions, it was forbidden to represent anything living through art. So there couldn't be representations of plants or animals. So the way that things were represented during that time was through geometric shapes. These geometric shapes had symbols. Symbolism has always been really important for people throughout all of history. Symbolism is designed to cause your mind to remember and think about important things, different religious concepts, different ideological concepts. Recalling these important symbols helps people to stay devoted to the different religious ideals that they have at the time. So within the Islamic culture that was here, there were geometric shapes that were laid out in different patterns, each of these patterns having different significance. Some of it was just for pure beauty, but other times it was much more significant. So as the Portuguese came in here, when the Christian reconquistas took place, the reconquering, where they came back and pushed the Moors further south, what took place is an adoption of these azulejos, these tiles, but you can see that they've been changed. These mosaics now represent living things at times. They also go further and at times have Portuguese art depicted on these tiles. Important historical periods of time that have taken place throughout Portuguese history. So we see a combination of all of that, this clash of cultures. This is another opportunity to see that Roman bridge. So this bridge was originally built by the Romans. The Roman bridge was destroyed and a Moorish bridge was built using the red sandstone that we find in this area. So sandstone, sedimentary stone, used in a lot of building projects here. We'll work our way up through the city and we'll be able to see some incredibly huge structures, really important for this period of time, all made out of this iconic red sandstone. All right, so as we work our way over into the city, I want you to pay attention to the sidewalk. The sidewalk here, it may not seem like anything out of the ordinary here in this area of the world, but this specifically is called Calçada Portuguesa, so Portuguese pavement or sidewalk. This is made up of small square stones that are cut and then they're laid in place, creating these different patterns. These white stones are limestone, the black stones are basalt, and they're lined together to create these different geometrical patterns. So you'll see these all throughout Portugal, as well as some of the other areas that were conquered by the Portuguese during the expansion periods of the time of discovery. Bom dia, senhor. Bom dia. Bom dia, senhora. All right, so this is the central market here in this town. This is set up on a daily basis for people to come in and get fresh fruits and produce. All right, so a lot of these different things are fruits and vegetables that were brought over through the different conquests that took place by Portugal. As they came into different areas and expanded, they adopted new cuisines. They brought some of these back. So we have avocados here, abacate, we have oranges. Oranges are incredibly important, the citrus fruits here in the area, because of the Moors that brought them up when they came into this place. We have figs. You can see these on the fig trees throughout. These right here, this is a pomegranate. So in Portuguese, this is called Roma, R-O-M-A with an accent over it. It literally means Roman. So this is something from that Roman period. Let's continue to work our way through. Right here, bom dia, com licença, faça senhora. This right here is a persimmon, also known as a caqui. This fruit, again, really popular in this area of the world. Different types of lemons. This in the US we'd call a Crenshaw lemon. Here it's just called a melão, meaning a big melon. All right, let's keep working our way. So this is really important. This is called pão. Pão is bread. So pão pequeno, small bread. These are important within Portuguese culture. All of these different pastries made out of almonds. All right, let's go and check out the fish market. So this is the daily cash. Bom dia, senhor. O que tá bom aqui?
Oi, tá certo? Bons, frescos, vejo.
Perfeito.
Safia.
São de hoje ou de ontem?
É de hoje, através dos olhos. É olhos pretos. É, fresco.
Tá bom. Acho que a gente vai deixar para a próxima vez, tá bom?
Então, cavalo.
Tá bom então. Obrigado, senhor. Obrigado. So we have mackerel, we have sardines there. He offered it to us, but I really don't have anywhere to carry it, so we'll have to wait till the next time. All right, we'll come down here. Let's get a piece of fruit, all right? Guys, check out these giant radishes. These giant fresh radishes. Senhora, a gente pode comprar um pouco de fruta. Tem caqui. Eu posso comprar um caqui. So persimmons, kaki, that's one of my favorite fruits actually. All right guys, so we just got one of these from the nice lady selling. Oh, desculpe. Ciao senhora, obrigada. Ciao. All right, so let's work our way back out into the market. I'm gonna try this, okay? Dang, this is super rude, I'm sorry. It's actually one of my favorite kinds of fruits. So this is a popular fruit in Portugal, also in Brazil. It's known as a caqui. In English, I think we call this a persimmon. They're difficult to find, at least difficult to find ripe like this. It's one of my favorite parts about these morning markets is you can go in and you can find stuff ready to eat. One of the things that makes it difficult for me to live back in the US is being able to go in to these fresh markets and be able to fill up on local produce. Guys, we're gonna work our way down here and see. There's a little central area that I want to show you. All right, let's keep working our way up, guys, through this central area. So again, back to this calçada portuguesa. So the Portuguese pavement made from the limestones, as well as the basalt. It's laid down in different geometrical designs. You see this throughout Lisbon, throughout all of the different Portuguese areas. You also see in different ornate patterns, specifically in Brazil, the famous beaches of Ipanema and Copacabana, they have this exact same type of calçada portuguesa. Okay, we're gonna work our way down into this little central square. Dang, that's so tanniny. So there's so many tannins in the outside of that fruit. Tannins are something that they make your teeth, they make your mouth kind of pucker. So when you eat grapes that aren't quite ripe, if you try to eat raw olives off the trees like those ones that we saw earlier, all of this is really, really harsh, really bitter on your mouth if you bite it when it's not quite ripe. But what it does is if it's ripe, it allows the flavors to develop. This is what gives wine complexity of taste, the different tannins which are found in the skins of the grapes, as well as the stems, different parts of the leaves, all of that pressed together to create different depths of flavor. So found in lots of different fruits. Guys, what we have here, this central square, this is a depiction, a representation, a modern depiction of the Moorish culture that was here in the area. So the Moors came up, they occupied this entire area. They were here for hundreds and hundreds of years. So they left remnants of the belief systems, a strong Islamic belief system, as well as the representations that we see in the architecture and in some of the art. So let's come over here and just look at this building right here. So as we approach this building, you can see this is obviously a modern building, but the depictions here, it's a combination of an arched dome. The arched dome is incredibly iconic within the Arab world. So we'll see a lot more of that This is just, guys, this is just the very beginning. But again, look at the geometric shapes there. The geometric shapes, the squares, the pyramids, the circles, the domes, all of this has religious significance for people. So if you're not able to depict stuff that's living, if that's forbidden within your society, you come up with other ways of reminding your mind of beautiful things. So let's come over here, let's check out this mural. This mural right here does a really great job of depicting some of the history of this area. So remembering the Moor culture, remembering the Islamic influence that took place. So we can see based off of the dress, check out this architecture right here. So the different geometric shapes. This is absolutely stunning that we see this literally painted on the side of a wall. This is just contemporary art. It's just mural art, just a little bit more advanced than what you'd find with just street graffiti in the walls. But we have a representation of a Moorish man. This symbol right here, guys, turn and look at this symbol right here. So we have a square and then another square. This is an 8-sided star. A lot of times this is represented within Islamic traditions. There's a circle right here in the middle of it. We'll keep our eyes out and see if we can see a little bit more of that. But remember that shape right there, that star, that 8-sided star. Just keep your eyes out for those now, okay? So keep your eyes peeled. Here it is right here. I didn't know this was here. We have another square and a square and then a circle within the middle. So within Islamic traditions, this right here is often seen in the sacred text, the Quran, which is separating the chapters. They use this symbol right here to separate from section to section. Now, it's, wow, really cool stuff. So right here we have the Portuguese king. Again, we have the 8-sided star. We have right here the knights. These knights were incredibly important within the Reconquistas. So coming in as the Christians drove the Muslims further south and then retook this area. So that star, that 8-sided star, man, I'm gonna get into a tangent really quick. This is something that's really cool. That's a symbol that you see throughout all different types of religions. So that symbol is found within Judeo-Christian traditions. So for the Hebrews, that symbol is known as the shield or the seal of Melchizedek. So Melchizedek was a high priest in Old Testament times. This symbol is found throughout all of the Muslim world. This is found in Catholic sanctuaries and cathedrals, sometimes on windows. There's a mosaic in Italy, hundreds and hundreds of years old, very early Christian representation. That symbol is there depicting an important scene at the time. So Melchizedek was a king in Old Testament times. The symbol represents not just the numbers of the sides, but also the geometrical shapes have different meaning. So an angle like that, a 45-degree angle or a right angle, depending on where the squares are set up, those typically represent obedience, certitude, being just. It also has other different representations. That circle that we found in the middle there, a lot of times that represents eternity. So the reason a lot of times why people will have a ring, the tradition of having a wedding ring, eternity, that circle represents something that lasts continually. All right, guys, let's keep working our way up. So right here, believe it or not, we've actually climbed up onto the castle wall here in Silves. So this castle was built as early as human civilizations came to this area. This high place was used as a fortress. So each successive group of people that have come here and built their empires have literally built on top of the structures that were put in place before it. So there were Roman structures put in place, there were Moorish structures put in place, and then there were Christian structures put in place on top of that. The castle that we see here, this incredibly iconic castle here in Silves is primarily Moorish. So you can see those huge square structures there, the fortress that existed. You can see how it was an important military place. So people would come, and in order to try to occupy this city, you had to be able to climb up to the highest part, and then you also had to be able to come up and climb up over those walls. So as the Christians came in, they added another wall and put it along the outside. That's why we see this castle wall, which extends so far out from actually the main structures. We'll continue to work our way up. There's a famous cathedral here in Silves. This cathedral is built right up next to the castle, protected within this outer castle wall. So you can see the importance of maintaining and guarding the clergy that were here. So the religious people that helped ecclesiastically guide these people, housed within the same broad complex that that the royal family was housed in. Here we go, guys. It's right here. So we can see this cathedral. This cathedral, really important piece of architectural beauty, and the reason is because it's been maintained even through that earthquake that took place in 1755. So 1755, a terrible earthquake came through, absolutely leveled Lisbon. There were then awful fires and a tsunami that came through. Almost everything that existed prior to that time was completely leveled, and then what wasn't destroyed in the earthquake was destroyed in the fire or in the tsunami that came after that. This piece of architecture, though, for the most part, it was preserved. So let's come around, we'll look at the front. So there was a king at the time, an important king. His name was King Manuel. Manuel was the king at the time of the Age of Discovery for the Portuguese. So this king, King Manuel, he was there between the late 1400s and the early 1500s. He was responsible for these different expeditions that went out. We can see right here this Gothic arch. This is a combination of the culture of the Visigoths that were here, creating this Gothic arch. So this particular type of arch is found throughout all of Europe from the Gothic civilizations that existed. But then if we come up close, guys, let's look really close. So we have this red sandstone, which is laid down here on the bottom, and then we have these granite pillars that are laid in place. Very cool. And then, guys, look at this. Just look at the squares. The pillars are set on top of these squares. So we have a square, and then we have a circle within a square. This is also a really important symbol that you find throughout lots of different religious traditions. Sometimes people believe that the circle represents your emotions, the square represents your rational thinking. So it's the ability to keep your actions in line with your belief system. So look up throughout that pillar and then come down. We're going to come over here to the top of these pillars right here. So during that time when King Manuel was in charge, all of the different things that were found in the different occupied territories, these were brought back almost as treasures. So we have right here, we have fig leaves. Those are common here at the time, but then above that, if you look up, that right there, that represents corn. So corn was something that was only found in the New World, so in the Americas. That was something that was brought back and then cultivated here in the area. If we back up a little bit more, we can get in a little bit of view. We have the figures that are up at the very top of that Gothic arch. We have 11 different figures there. All of these are representations of either people or animals. So we have lions, we have a badger, we have different people that are represented from down in the southern hemisphere. So the indigenous people at the time that were part of that occupation there in South America. The different floral patterns that we find interwoven with the corn and all the different leaves and botanical components. This is a culture This is an architectural type that's known as Manuelino. So Manuelino, in reference to King Manuel, who was the king at the time between the late 1400s and the early 1500s. If we look up along the cathedral, we can see in the corners we have these Gothic spouts coming out. So this is a representation of an animal where the water would come out that was used for the drainage system in the area. Let's work our way up here and then we'll come up towards the entrance of the castle. Guys, throughout this entire process, independent of what we're looking at, it's important to just remember to stay relaxed, just keep moving, try to lose yourself in the surroundings and the things that we're able to see, and just enjoy this experience. This is so cool to be able to come here and to see all of this. Throughout Portugal, we have these red roof tiles and then these white walls. The white walls obviously are there for as a way to control the climate, so to keep temperatures cool. The different white wash is made from limestone that's ground up, mixed with water, and then painted on the houses. Another component of this, though, is because of the Islamic traditions here, colors are really important. Like I mentioned, geometric shapes are really important. So a lot of times we'll see white in combination with a different color. These accents indicate different beliefs, different symbols within that Islamic tradition. So the universe within Islam is thought of as being depicted as white and blue. That's what you see in the Taj Mahal. That's what you see in a lot of different archaeological areas that were occupied by the Ottoman Empire. Okay guys, we made it up here to the castle wall. This huge statue is of King Sancho. So Sancho was the king who in the 1100s came and he retook this area from the Moors who'd occupied it. So that reconquista or reconquest, it didn't last for too long, because then the Moors came back and they were able to take over this city again here in Silves. Guys, here we are entering in the castle of Silves. All right, guys, we've made it now inside the castle walls. Castelo de Silves, Castelo, Portuguese for castle. So you can see as we climb up here, you can see how this was not just a place where people lived, but a military fortress. So all of this architecture built here by the Moors, this section here, obviously all of it's been built empire upon empire, but the Moors created these lasting structures out of the red sandstone. You can see the way that these are set up. They're wide here and then narrow on the inside. That's so that people can look through and look out without there being a wide opening for these people to be injured. So if anybody was shooting up with an arrow or something like that, it's very difficult to get that arrow through that narrow opening. Or if they wanted to shoot arrows from here, you can see how you could fit a whole body in and then shoot those arrows down, but it'd be really difficult for somebody to shoot back up towards them. So let's work our way along these castle walls. All right. Okay, so we'll be able to look out when we get up here. We'll have a view of Silves, so the city of Silves. This is an incredibly important city, like I mentioned. Do you remember the Roman bridge that we crossed over in the very beginning? That Roman bridge, if we look out, that's right down there between groves of olive trees as well as citrus trees. So the Roman bridge crosses over the river. The river was really important at the time to be able to ship commerce from the sea back up into the area. That's one of the reasons that made this city such a rich area for the Moors when they lived here. Let's climb up here. Let's take in a little view of this area, and then we can pan up and look at the Portuguese flag. So that Portuguese flag, we've got a little bit of wind today. You can see you have the shield, and then behind the Portuguese flag in yellow, that's actually a representation of an astrological device used for navigation. So that yellow piece, you find that piece of art all over Portugal now, not just because of just some artistic representation because they thought it looked good. It actually represented the cosmos, the universe, the stars. It was used by the ancient navigators to find their ways across the seas. So this is something that was taught. It was really important for the people to learn navigation skills. These navigation skills were used when they were out on sea to be able to tell what direction they were going. So imagine being out in a boat for months at a time, crossing huge expanses of water and just trusting the stars for your direction, putting faith in your captain and the other people that you're working with to be able to arrive in that place. So this right here, guys, I want to just call your attention to this. See how deep these castle walls are. It's literally 6 feet wide almost, these castle walls. It's incredible to think that all of this was constructed by hand at that time. Again, this is an area where you'd be able to look out, and it'd be very difficult for any foreign objects to come through that area. Let's continue through right here. We've got a little bit of a Gothic arch. We come up here, work our way through, and we'll continue down and take in the views. Right down here, if we look down off to the right, we have ruins that are being excavated. So this is an archaeological site. As I mentioned, during Roman times, during the late years right before BC commenced, so before the Common Era, before Christ, right around year 0, right at the beginning, this was all Roman. You can look down and you can see the areas which were left in place. These round stones pumped around because of the windmills that were here, used to drive water through these areas. So the cisterns here in this castle were used to gather water from rain and pump down into these large cisterns, which were used for drinking water into the early 1900s for this city. All right, guys. So all of this different architecture, just a combination, essentially a historical melting pot. So one culture builds upon another culture. They take the ideas that work and they run with those ideas. They improve, they make them better. It allows us to see how societies and civilizations advance one step upon the next. All right, so you can see how some of these areas, these rocks, have started to decay in certain places. So sandstone, it's a really easy rock to carve. You can cut these squares, but it makes it difficult because it doesn't last as long as some of the other stones like limestone, like granite, like marble. Let's work our way up there, that central area. We'll take in the views, and then we'll wrap up this little cultural walkabout through Silves. Guys, this is just the beginning. We're going to explore a lot more, lots of other incredible places. Right now we're on the Iberian Peninsula, but we're going to continue to work even further south, believe it or not. We've just scratched the surface on the things that we're going to learn about. Let's take in a view of this entire inner courtyard of the castle. Guys, this has been absolutely stunning. Thank you so much for joining me on this tour through the city of Silves here in southern Portugal on the Iberian Peninsula. I'm Tommy Rivs, and I'll see you soon, guys.